Some of the strangest laws in the world are not ancient relics. They are not forgotten rules buried in dusty books. They are active, enforced, and most people don't even know they exist. Today, we're looking at laws that are still very real, not because they make sense, but because no one ever bothered to question them. And once you know they exist, you'll start noticing how easily absurd rules become normal. The suspicious salmon, United Kingdom. In England and Wales, there is a law that makes it illegal to handle a salmon in suspicious circumstances. Yes, suspicious circumstances. This law comes from the Salmon Act of 1986, and it still exists today. The goal was simple: to stop the illegal trade of fish. But the wording is so vague that it turned into one of the strangest legal phrases ever written. What exactly makes a salmon suspicious? No one really knows. And yet the law remains, quietly, unquestioned. Out of control chickens, United States. In some towns in the United States, it is illegal to let your chickens cross the road freely. Not because chickens are dangerous, but because people are irresponsible. These local laws exist to force owners to control their animals. And while it sounds ridiculous, it reveals something very human. Laws are often written not because something is dangerous, but because someone, somewhere, abused the system once. And instead of fixing the behavior, we regulate the chicken. Decades in many cities across the United States, crossing the street outside of designated crosswalks was considered illegal. This offense became known as jaywalking. For a long time, it was treated as a safety rule, but its origin was not about protecting pedestrians. In the early 20th century, streets belonged to people. Children played in them. Vendors worked in them. Pedestrians crossed freely. When automobiles began to dominate the roads, accidents increased. Instead of limiting vehicles, cities changed the rules for people. Pedestrians were blamed. Crossing the street became a crime, not because walking was dangerous, but because cars were powerful. Today, some cities have begun to reverse these laws. Others still enforce them. But the logic remains. Instead of redesigning urban space or reducing speed, the easier solution was behavioral control. The streets stopped being shared. And when a rule shapes a city for generations, questioning it stops being a priority. It is forbidden to die here. France. In a small French town, the mayor once issued an official municipal decree making it illegal to die without first reserving a cemetery plot. Not as a joke, as an actual legal order. The reason was practical. The town's cemetery was full. There was no space left, no approved expansion, no response from higher authorities. And instead of solving the infrastructure problem, the solution was a law. The decree was never meant to imprison the dead. It was meant to bury bureaucracy. By making the situation legally absurd, the mayor forced it into public attention. The story spread. Newspapers picked it up. International media followed. And only then did the government act. Funding was approved. A new cemetery was built. The law did its job, not by being enforced, but by being ridiculous enough to be impossible to ignore. This wasn't poor legislation. It was legal performance art, a deliberate misuse of the system to expose how broken the system had become. Sometimes, laws don't exist to control people. They exist to force institutions to finally move. Banned camouflage. Multiple countries. In several countries around the world, including parts of the Caribbean, Africa, and Southeast Asia, civilians are not allowed to wear camouflage clothing. Not because it's ugly, but because it represents power. In these places, camouflage is reserved for the military and, in some cases, law enforcement. Allowing civilians to wear it could create confusion. Or worse, challenge authority. It's not about intention, it's about perception. In Barbados, even a backpack or children's shorts with a military pattern can be confiscated, not because of who is wearing it, but because of what it resembles. This law reveals something deeper. Laws are not only about safety, they're about symbols, control, and who is allowed to look powerful. Most absurd laws don't survive because they make sense. They survive because no one questions them. And once a rule becomes normal, it stops feeling strange, even when it should. Maybe the real question isn't why these laws exist, but which normal rules of today will become the absurd stories of tomorrow.